Let me tell you talking tips. Elias often felt a knot in his stomach whenever he had to speak. His thoughts would race, words would scatter, and he'd stammer through sentences, leaving conversations feeling incomplete and frustrating. He yearned for the fluidity, the effortless banter, and the deep connections he observed in others. This silent struggle held him back from truly expressing his vibrant inner world. He knew there had to be a better way forward. One quiet evening, he stumbled upon an old, worn book about the art of conversation. Its pages promised transformation, not just in speaking, but in listening, truly listening, a skill he hadn't fully appreciated. The book emphasized empathy, placing yourself in the other person's shoes before uttering a single word. This simple idea sparked a tiny flicker of hope within his hesitant heart. The first talking tip it offered was profound: listen more than you speak. Elias initially found this counterintuitive, thinking speaking was the goal. However, he learned that active listening builds bridges, shows respect, and provides invaluable context for your own contributions. It transforms a monologue into a genuine dialogue, making the other person feel truly heard and valued in the exchange. He practiced by truly focusing on people's words, their tone, and even their body language. He stopped rehearsing his own responses while others spoke. Instead, he absorbed their message. This shift made conversations flow naturally. People started opening up to him more, sensing his genuine attention, and the quality of his interactions began to noticeably improve, bringing him new confidence. Another crucial tip involved asking open-ended questions. Instead of, "Did you have a good day?" he learned to ask, "What was the most interesting part of your day?" This invited narrative, encouraging people to share more, giving him deeper insights into their lives and perspectives, fostering richer, more engaging conversations that felt less like an interview and more like a shared journey. Body language, the book explained, spoke volumes without uttering a single sound. Maintaining eye contact, adopting an open posture, and nodding subtly indicated engagement and trustworthiness. Elias started consciously adjusting his posture, uncrossing his arms, and making more eye contact. He noticed others seemed more comfortable, creating an atmosphere of openness and genuine connection. Voice modulation also played a significant role. Speaking in a monotone could disengage listeners, regardless of the content. Varying pitch, pace, and volume added dynamism and interest to his speech. He began recording himself, playing back his voice and experimenting with different inflections, discovering nuances that made his words more impactful and captivating for his audience. Then came the daunting challenge of vocabulary. How to remember words. Elias had flashcards, apps, and countless lists, yet new words often slipped away like sand through his fingers. The book suggested a more organic approach, emphasizing context and emotional connection as powerful memory aids, rather than rote memorization, which often proved ineffective for long-term retention. It proposed a technique, storytelling with words. Instead of merely memorizing ephemeral, he was advised to create a short, vivid mental story incorporating the word. The ephemeral butterfly fluttered briefly, its beauty disappearing too quickly. This method embedded the word in a narrative, giving it life and meaning, making it stick much more effectively than simple repetition. Visualizing the word in action also helped tremendously. For ubiquitous, he imagined a popular coffee shop chain, ubiquitous, on every street corner. This mental image linked the abstract concept to a concrete, easily recallable experience. The more senses he involved, the stronger the memory trace became, turning vocabulary acquisition into a creative and enjoyable process. He also discovered the power of spaced repetition. Instead of cramming, he revisited words at increasing intervals, an hour later, a day later, a week later. This systematic review reinforced the memory pathways, ensuring that new vocabulary transitioned from short-term to long-term memory, becoming a natural part of his active language repertoire, ready for spontaneous use. The book delved into the common question, why should I not learn English? It wasn't about not learning, but understanding the misconceptions. Some argued their native language was enough, or that learning English was just about grammar rules. The book countered that genuine communication transcended mere syntax, focusing on connection, not just linguistic perfection. It explained that limiting oneself to one language in a globally connected world was like willingly staying in a small pond. While comfortable, it restricted access to vast oceans of knowledge, diverse cultures, and endless opportunities for growth. English, as a widely spoken lingua franca, opened doors to these broader horizons, offering unparalleled access to global dialogue. The book passionately argued that why you should not learn English was a flawed premise. True, some might find it intimidating, but the rewards far outweighed the initial struggles. It wasn't about abandoning one's heritage, but adding a powerful tool. It was about enhancing communication, not replacing it, making the world feel much smaller and more accessible. Moreover, it debunked the myth that fluency meant speaking without any accent or mistakes. It stressed that authentic communication embraced individuality. The goal was to be understood, to connect, to share ideas, not to mimic a native speaker perfectly. This liberated Elias from the paralyzing fear of imperfection, encouraging him to speak freely. Why Reading is Important was a chapter that resonated deeply with Elias. He had always enjoyed stories, but the book revealed reading's profound impact on language acquisition. It wasn't just entertainment, it was a cornerstone of fluency, providing constant exposure to correct grammar, varied vocabulary, and natural sentence structures and context. Reading, the book explained, expanded your worldview. Each story, each article, each essay introduced new ideas, different cultures, and alternative perspectives, broadening his understanding of humanity. This cognitive expansion not only enriched his mind, but also gave him more varied topics to discuss, making his conversations much more engaging and insightful. Furthermore, reading silently allowed for guilt-free repetition. If a sentence was confusing, he could reread it without judgment. This self-paced learning environment fostered deep comprehension and allowed him to absorb complex ideas at his own speed. It built a strong foundation, silently reinforcing linguistic patterns and strengthening neural connections effortlessly. It also significantly improved his writing. The more he read, the more he subconsciously absorbed stylistic nuances, sentence flow, and effective rhetorical devices. His own written communication became clearer, more persuasive, and more articulate, demonstrating the undeniable synergy between reading comprehension and written expression, a powerful combination. The path How to Learn English was detailed next, emphasizing immersion beyond textbooks. Surround yourself with English, it advised. Change your phone language, watch movies without subtitles, listen to English podcasts during commutes. Every small exposure accumulated, transforming his environment into a constant, subtle learning tool, accelerating his progress. Practicing speaking, even imperfectly, was non-negotiable. The book encouraged joining conversation groups, finding language exchange partners, or even talking to himself in English. The act of producing language, regardless of initial awkwardness, cemented learned concepts and built confidence, turning passive knowledge into active, usable skills over time. Making mistakes was not failure, but feedback. The book insisted on embracing errors as essential stepping stones. Each misstep provided valuable information, guiding him towards correction and improvement. This mindset shifted his fear of error into a curious pursuit of mastery, making the learning journey less stressful and infinitely more productive and enjoyable. Consistency trumped intensity. 10 minutes of practice every day was more effective than 2 hours once a week. Regular, small bursts of effort built sustainable habits and kept the language fresh in his mind, preventing the dreaded plateau effect. Learning became an integrated part of his daily routine, rather than a separate, burdensome chore. Then came a delightful chapter titled English Story Reading. It wasn't just about reading, but about the unique power of narrative. Stories, unlike dry textbooks, engaged emotions, making learning feel effortless and deeply enjoyable. They offered a window into cultural nuances, idiomatic expressions, and real-world language usage. Elias remembered a particular story, a humorous tale about a curious squirrel. As he read it, he didn't just learn words. He felt the squirrel's excitement, its frustration. This emotional connection bypassed conscious effort, allowing the language to seep into his subconscious, building intuition for natural phrasing and cultural context, a truly immersive experience. Stories provided context for abstract words and phrases. An idiom like raining cats and dogs made little sense in isolation, but within a vivid story describing a torrential downpour, its meaning became instantly clear and memorable. Narrative bridges the gap between literal translation and nuanced understanding, making language feel alive and accessible. The book urged him to read widely across genres: mysteries, sci-fi, historical fiction. Each genre presented distinct vocabulary and narrative styles, broadening his linguistic range. This variety kept his interest piqued and his learning dynamic, ensuring he was constantly exposed to new ways of expressing thoughts and emotions in English. Now, for the section on how to talk with anyone, the book revisited its initial lessons, but added a crucial layer: empathy. It wasn't just about techniques, it was about genuine human connection. Approaching every interaction with a desire to understand and connect, rather than simply to impress, transformed his entire approach to conversation. It advised finding common ground. Even with strangers, a quick observation of their surroundings or a shared experience could spark a connection. Nice weather, isn't it? Or, that's an interesting book you're reading. These small openers disarmed awkwardness, creating a welcoming space for dialogue and mutual discovery. Being genuinely curious about others was key. People loved talking about themselves, their passions, their experiences. Asking follow-up questions, expressing interest, and allowing them to elaborate made conversations flow effortlessly. It wasn't about dominating the discussion, but facilitating a rich exchange, making everyone feel valued. The book introduced a very interesting story as a practical example. It was about a shy young artist who learned to talk to strangers by asking them about their favorite color and the story behind it. This simple, personal question often led to profound and unexpected conversations, revealing the power of vulnerability and genuine curiosity. The artist discovered that everyone had a story, and by creating a safe space for them to share, he not only honed his communication skills, but also built incredible connections. He realized that a simple, open-ended question could unlock entire worlds of experience, turning fleeting encounters into memorable interactions. His art, too, transformed. Inspired by these conversations, he began painting portraits not just of faces, but of the stories behind them, using colors that evoked the emotions shared. His work gained depth and authenticity, demonstrating how improved communication could enrich his creative expression in unexpected and beautiful ways. The book then shifted to how other people talk in English, emphasizing observation. It encouraged Elias to pay attention to native speakers, their rhythm, their intonation, their use of slang and idioms. This wasn't about imitation, but about building an intuitive understanding of natural speech patterns. Watching movies and TV shows without dubbing or subtitles, or with English subtitles, became a study in real-life dialogue. He noticed how people paused, how they emphasized certain words, and how their nonverbal cues complemented their speech. This immersive observation provided invaluable insights beyond textbook grammar. Podcasts and interviews were excellent resources for listening practice. He could replay sections, analyze sentence structures, and even try to mimic certain phrases. This active listening practice sharpened his ear and improved his pronunciation, making him more confident when it was his turn to speak spontaneously. He also learned to observe how different individuals adapted their English. Someone from India might speak differently from someone from Ireland, yet both communicated effectively. This taught him that there wasn't one correct way, but rather a spectrum of valid and beautiful expressions, fostering acceptance. Elias started seeing communication not as a performance, but as a dance. Each person contributed, each person listened, and the rhythm of the conversation evolved organically. This shift in perspective removed much of the pressure he previously felt, allowing him to relax and genuinely enjoy the process. The advice culminated in a powerful realization for Elias: the most important thing is to speak. Hesitation, fear of judgment, and the pursuit of perfection were the real obstacles. Imperfect speech was infinitely better than eloquent silence. Action, even flawed action, led to progress and ultimately mastery. He began to initiate conversations more frequently, whether with store clerks, fellow commuters, or new colleagues. Each interaction, no matter how brief, was a mini practice session. He celebrated small victories, a coherent sentence, a shared laugh, a successful exchange of information, building his confidence steadily. His focus shifted from not making mistakes to making connections. This liberating perspective allowed him to express himself more freely, without the constant self-monitoring that previously stifled his natural flow. He realized genuine communication was about conveying meaning, not achieving flawless grammar every single time. He even started telling his own, very interesting story, not a fictional one, but his journey from shy stammerer to confident conversationalist. He shared his struggles, his discoveries, and the unexpected joys of connecting with people from diverse backgrounds through the power of language. His story resonated with others who felt similar anxieties. He became a reluctant mentor, sharing the tips he had learned, emphasizing that everyone could improve their communication skills with patience and consistent effort, proving that personal transformation could inspire widespread change. Elias found that the more he spoke, the more effortlessly words came to him. His vocabulary grew organically through usage, not just memorization. He stopped translating in his head and began thinking directly in English, a monumental shift that marked true fluency and confidence. The book had been more than a guide, it had been a catalyst. It transformed his fear into curiosity, his silence into expression, and his isolation into connection. He wasn't just learning English, he was learning how to be a more engaged, empathetic human being, truly alive in every interaction. He often reflected on the initial misconception, why you should not learn English. He now understood it was never about avoiding the language, but about approaching it with the right mindset, not as a rigid academic pursuit, but as a vibrant tool for living and connecting. Reading remained his constant companion. He devoured books, articles, and online content, finding endless inspiration for new conversations and expanding his knowledge base. Each page turned was another step on his journey to articulate his thoughts with precision and passion, a continuous evolution. His journey proved that language learning was never linear. There were plateaus, moments of frustration, and periods of rapid growth. But with persistence, and by applying the holistic approach from the book, every challenge became an opportunity for deeper learning and greater mastery. He shared his experiences, particularly the English story reading method, with aspiring learners. He told them how engaging with narratives made language acquisition feel less like study and more like an adventure, making the learning process sustainable and genuinely enjoyable, fostering a love for English. Elias, once the quiet observer, now initiated conversations, shared anecdotes, and confidently navigated social settings. His transformation was a testament to the power of deliberate practice, courageous action, and the profound wisdom contained within the simple pages of an old book, a truly inspiring change. He realized that how to talk with anyone wasn't a magic trick, but a combination of respect, active listening, and genuine interest in others. It was about seeing every person as a potential story, waiting to be heard, fostering true connection, and building bridges, one conversation at a time. His English, once halting, now flowed with a natural rhythm, reflecting his growing confidence. He no longer worried about every grammatical error, but instead focused on conveying his message clearly and warmly, making his interactions authentic and meaningful for everyone involved. The very interesting story, about the artist also resonated with Elias, reminding him that creativity and communication often intertwined. His improved English allowed him to express his own creative ideas more fully, whether in casual conversation or more formal presentations, enriching his life. He continued to observe how other people talk in English, learning from their diverse styles and accents. This ongoing learning process ensured his skills remained sharp and adaptable, allowing him to connect with an even broader range of individuals across different cultural backgrounds effortlessly. So, if you ever feel that knot in your stomach, remember Elias's journey. Embrace the tips, read voraciously, practice relentlessly, and tell your own stories. Your voice matters, and the world is waiting to hear it, transforming you into a confident, captivating communicator ready for anything.